Content warning. The following film discusses suicide and mental health and may cause distress. Mental health generally as a thing is something that has sort of impacted me and my friends and family. In the past, I've lost too many people, more people than I care to think about, and there's so many people in my life that I worry about. So this conversation is something that I'm 110% invested in, and it is something that is so important that we continue to talk about. We cannot shy away from this.
The issue is that men have that persona, that machismo that doesn't allow them to show weakness, doesn't allow them to show anything that is against the norm of what they think people would think of them as a man.
For me, it's generational. I think it comes from what you've been shown as a child. I mean, when I was a kid, my dad was the strong one. Never said anything. I think it's probably been 35 years since he last said he loved me.
Being a man, when you want to talk about things, it's like, it's embarrassing. It's where like you can't talk because you feel like you're asking for attention and stuff like that, and then you bottle it up, and then you want to talk to people, but it's like, oh, they're just going to think I'm stupid.
Talking for men is mirrored by humour, by jest, by going out on a Friday and Saturday night, getting absolutely wankered and pulling the pig at the end of the night and having a jest with your buddies about it.
Yeah.
I think that's how men try to deal with their depression. I think that's the way it goes with that.
People go to, various places, like if you're going to go to the pub or something like that, and you'll tend to, the conversation will flip through football or something you've seen on TV or whatever it is, but people never really, even if they're going through something very deep inside them, they'll never really open up about those issues.
What men do often is deal with it sideways on. So rather than talking about mental health, they'll do stuff that makes them feel better. Or they do stuff with their mates that makes them feel better. So that could be tinkering with engines, or talking about politics, or getting involved in the practicalities of life.
I think it's ingrained in your brain not to open up by everyone, really. Like, your friends are there for you, but you don't want to be the one to burden them with your problems.
Personally, I think we're from a bit of a fatherless generation where either we've got absent fathers or fathers are too busy to really show us the ropes and teach us how to be a man.
Men in particular do keep it in, and young men as well, because girls and women are generally better at talking and communicating. So we find that in schools as well, is that boys do keep it in, or they offload it in different ways.
And then COVID, sort of it cast everyone into, first of all there was, school kids and so on being shut up at home and not seeing their mates and all the rest of it. And then suddenly the great missing, chunk of the population, sort of men, pops up.
As men, it's difficult. Women have got these close cycles and they talk about stuff and blokes don't. And I think it's important you reach out to people. I think, like I said, sometimes just, a few words, just a conversation can make all the difference.
It is very easy for us as humans to just turn our face, turn the other cheek, ignore it, walk away from it. Nah, we can't. We've got to just go head on into this conversation, and we've just got to have honest and often brutal conversations about it, because that is the only way that we're actually going to impact any form of change.
When I was growing up, it was a man's world. My dad was in and out of prison, so I didn't really see much of him. My mum was both roles. As long as I can go and talk to her, then she felt like she was doing her job right. When I've been in hospital through various attempts suicide, kind of see her and she blames herself. What have I done wrong? She hasn't, you know what I mean? It's just some things in life get too much. Some people can't handle it. It's, how do I describe it? I'm carrying some bricks and you put another one on and another one, and all of a sudden you can't carry no more. and you just crack up.
So do you think it's less of a case that men don't talk, but maybe more of a case that men are perhaps afraid to talk or don't know how to talk?
Like my friend hung himself, he couldn't talk. That's his third attempt. You could talk to him till the cows come home. He was going to do it no matter what. And it's heartbreaking. He's left kids. If you met him in a pub, he'd be the funniest person you ever met. You wouldn't have thought he suffered mental health. And I think people who do suffer mental health put on a massive front.
I have direct experience of that with my my younger brother Daniel, who committed suicide 10 years ago. And prior to that, he'd actually come to me in the November saying that he was going to split up with his current wife at the time. And so I offered for him to come and live with me short term for Christmas. Which he did, and he stayed for about 3.5 months. We spent a lot of time together, and I was really sort of proud to have my little brother there. And then he decided that he was going to sort of move on, and he found a flat share with some friends in another town, Battle. And within 5 weeks, he was dead. Hung himself, and I had no idea. I didn't see a thing, and that was quite shocking to me, because I've got other brothers. We're very tight and we're very aware of each other. But what I learned there was that they live in their own heads, and they're not prepared to discuss it or even show it. And that was the heartbreaking thing, that in retrospect he'd obviously come to me as his older brother for a bit of support, couldn't tell me, but I couldn't see it either.
One of my very, very close friends from, I'm not just a member of the Rowing Club, I'm the president of the Hastings Rowing Club. And one of my friends who joined the club as a youngster, saw him grow up. I won't mention any names, but he, at the age of 26, threw himself out of a loft hatch with a rope around his neck. And I'd spent hours and hours and hours, hundreds of hours in a boat, rowing to Bexhill in a pair. And we talk about everything but nothing. And yeah, it was pretty hard hitting. I spoke at his funeral. Never want to have to do that again. But it just goes to show we spent hours and hours talking, hours and hours and hours, and he never, ever, ever mentioned anything to me about his issues.
Yeah. It's hard when you get something in your head that you feel so worthless that you want to kill yourself, and I find it hard, really hard. I've had a few people, close mates, who hung themselves.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can. They're going to do it.
Yeah.
That's not a cry for help. That is, I'm going to kill myself.
Hard fact.
A cry for help. You take tablets. You make a phone call. That's a cry for help.
Mental health in general is just something that is a great importance to me. I've got so many people in my life that have struggled. I've struggled myself with various addictions. Alcoholism. There's a lot of sort of family history of this sort of thing, and it's something that I think is so powerful and so important that we take for granted, and we don't truly sort of understand. We don't understand the impact of these things, and it is something that I'm just so invested in. And plus, I love the psychological aspect of it. I love the conversations around it. I love being able to sort of understand and empathise with the stories and experiences that other people are going to be sharing.
Years ago now, I got my dad into motorcycling. My dad's probably my best friend in the world. Did everything together, shared everything. He was just top class. We were out one Sunday going to my sister's. He was riding in front of me, car pulled out, and he died instantly at the side of the road. And that, I was not ready for that, didn't expect it, and it really screwed me up for a long time. I probably didn't leave my house for 6 or 7 years. and I just sort of struggled. Your friends don't like to talk about it, your family are scared to upset you, and don't get me wrong, I've got a fantastic family and there's a lot of support there, but sometimes it just doesn't seem enough. I don't know, mate, do you take it for granted? Do you expect them to be there so it doesn't register? But after, several years, I started sort of getting my life together, but I was still struggling. And there's just, 2 instances that have sort of changed wanting to do something terrible, I suppose.
I was scared people were going to pick on me. I used to have hearing aids, and I got bright red ones. I don't know why I did that. And then, and it was just like the thought of other people looking at me. And then I got to a stage where I just didn't want to do it anymore. And I just ended up taking them out. And then my hearing got too worse, which I now like because I don't have to wear them.
Yeah.
So now I feel more comfortable. But I get around by talking to people, through reading their lips and stuff like that. But then when I had my kid, I went back downhill. I suffered with anxiety and panic attacks and stuff like that. And that's horrible. Every night, literally every night without fail, I used to feel like my throat's swelling. I used to feel like I'm going to die. And it makes you don't want to be here. But then I'm afraid of death, so I don't want to kill myself because I'm scared of dying, but then I feel like I'm dying. So it's like you're in this circle of you don't want to be here. I've got my kids to think about, money, bills, everything like this, and I was suffering this thing was making me feel like I want to die. I spoke to my cousin, stuff like that, because he suffered with that sort of stuff, and I went from there. So everyone talking to a girl or something like that to make me feel less of a man, which I shouldn't feel less of a man, but from a man's mind, you do. And then, so I spoke to a boy who goes through the same situation, and then you slowly come out of it. I don't really take medication, stuff like that. When I was in school, I suffered with a lack of empathy and remorse. And it runs from my family, my cousin's schizophrenic and stuff like that. So it's a lot of pressure on me, but then it's who I am. So it doesn't bother me now. I've got over the point of thinking, but now and again, not gonna lie, now and again I drive around at 3 AM in the morning, bored at my nut, got depressing music on, and I feel like writing the car off. It's like that. But then after that night, I'm fine. It's just night times when it hits you, when you're in your own head, when you're laying and you're doing nothing, that's when it hits you again. But then you go through a bad phase, you go through a good phase. That's what it's like.
I had a lot of tablets. I had them all out in front of me, and I was staying at a friend's house, and she came in, looked at the tablets all out on the side, didn't say a word. She said, "You're coming with me," and just took me away from that situation. Just for that little, I think we went to Tesco's or something. But that was just enough to break that cycle of thought all the time. It was just, it was silly. I don't know. Get down. It's a friend of mine went to my mum's house, and he said, "Where's Simon?" And my mum said to me, "Jess has been round." I said, "Oh, what did he want?" He said, "He's got a message for you." I said, "What's that?" He said, "You're a knob, but I'm not going to give up on you." And that was just enough.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just sort of got me over the line, if that makes any sense.
Perfect.
Just to know that he actually recognised I was struggling, I was having a hard time. To have a person, a mate, that's enough to stand up and say, "Listen, you are a knob, but I'm not going to give up on you, mate. I'm going to be here." It was a turning point.
I went through a divorce a good few years ago, and I think that was my first real realisation that I needed to be able to talk to people in a really open and honest environment, rather than just either keeping it within myself or talking to. Obviously, you can always talk to your family, or you should be able to talk to your family, but they'll always give you the family's opinion.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Rather than potentially the right decision or opinion from, a skilled specialist or someone who's impartial.
Yeah.
Because everyone always has a side. And then because of the nature of my business, we deal with a lot of mental health, anxiety, stress, depression. And over the years, I've worked out that you've got to ask questions and you've got to be completely impartial. And honesty is so important when it comes down to talking to people. And I think lots of people are scared to be open and honest when they have an open conversation.
I was on my own at home, kids were out, living their lives, I'd gone through a divorce. My mum had just died, and my dad, they were together for 50 years. I had some time, just a brief period on my own, and I got in the shower, and that's when I literally stood there for 15 minutes listening to this voice in my head telling me how it was going to happen, how we were going to do it. And I was just fortunate that the postman knocked on the door and the dog went completely mad downstairs, and it shook me from my thoughts. So I had to be there for him.
When I get depressed or suicidal, I have like a blackout.
Yeah.
So I don't realise it's happening to me. And like first time it happened, it was like 6 whole months. I had no idea what was happening. And then some friends in London saw it happening and like kind of kidnapped me because they could see me out. That was a total crisis. And I was at their house for a whole weekend and I had no idea. I thought I was happy as anything, but it literally wasn't. So who knows what could have happened. So luckily I had people in London for that, but then I moved here not knowing anyone.
Right.
So luckily I met a couple of people who could see this happening and were there to support me, especially when weird things, because like I said, I have a blackout, so I found myself trees talking to me and things like this.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So then my friend said, look, you need to potentially be put on medication, because I was always very anti being put on any kind of medication. So it's always about my belief within myself was having to actually feel it, to actually be able to deal with it.
What sort of brings us here is we're constantly hearing that men don't talk, and what I'm finding so far throughout all this is men are more than willing to talk. So, I mean, how do you feel about the statement that men don't talk about their mental health?
I mean, you're 100% correct. I think I originally thought when I first read the text, I thought it was, can I come down and explain why men do talk in the chair? And me being quite dyslexic, I kind of reread it and then thought, actually, it's the complete opposite. So I assumed that men would talk while they're sitting in the chair because, again, I do talk quite a bit.
Yeah.
But men don't talk. I think they're too scared of sharing their emotions. And I think when two men talk together, I think probably the other man is probably too scared to go into the rabbit hole of kind of what they could uncover. So I think men are very good at avoidance. So they'll turn around and say, I mean, I'm quite good at talking, but I could be sitting here and go, oh, I've had a really bad weekend. And the man cutting my hair might go, let's talk about the football instead, because it's easier and more comfortable than going, oh, so why does your wife want to leave you? Or something really quite dark or scary to talk about.
But I found like I've had a lot of like middle-aged men coming in that have had an experience or a situation recently where they have just opened up about it. Because you build, I find like in here especially, we build a relationship with our customers where we're on a kind of friendship term, you know? So we want them to feel comfortable to say whatever they want and be completely honest and open with us, you know? And we'll do whatever we can to make their day better by coming in.
Yeah.
I'm Dave. I work at the Seaview project in St Leonard's, and it's a wellbeing centre for anybody that needs kind of support in the community. There's no need for an appointment. It's just a walk-in service, and people are assured of a warm welcome. We see a lot of people who are homeless, some with mental health difficulties, addictions, neurodivergence, that kind of thing. And often people just come in because they're in a bit of a jam and they need someone to talk to and, you know, a bit of help with getting back on their feet, really.
I mean, so there's a lot of, I'm guessing by what I'm hearing, there's a sort of a large influx of people that are suffering in this sort of way in and around Hastings and St Leonard's area. I mean, is this something that you're finding? You know, you're finding that men are finding it difficult to sort of open up and be open about things, or are you finding the opposite? How are you finding this?
Yeah, I think, I mean, especially with suicide, that's one of the things that often people don't talk about. They might come in and talk about something else, like the benefits need sorting out, or you know, they need better housing, or they need some kind of housing. But when it comes to suicide, it's much more of a taboo still. And our team are all kind of trained and experienced in, you know, having those sort of more searching conversations with people, asking how they are, you know, emotionally. And one of the great things with Seaview is people can just come in for as long as they want, as often as they want, and so we get to know them, we get to build trust with them, and that's when they'll start to talk about, you know, some of the deeper stuff that's going on.
There's a lot more that can be done. There are a lot of people out there who are suffering.
Yes.
A lot of single men. I think women are able to talk to each other far more empathically. You find men often become loners, and in my experience with the community connectors, that's, you know, the most of the people that I've had have been you know, lone single men, very, very depressed and unable, and just being able to talk to them and open up their ability to talk is what is important, and a lot more of it could be done.
Men in particular do keep it in, and young men as well, you know, because girls and women are generally better at talking and communicating. So we find that in schools as well, is that boys do keep it in, or they offload it in different ways.
Yeah. So, I mean, how do you think we should go about encouraging this conversation? Because you've got to start it from somewhere, haven't you? There's got to be sort of a point in which we can sort of break people into feeling comfortable in being open. So how do you think we would be able to do that?
I think more understanding, obviously, which is what we're doing today, yes. And also discussing it more in schools. It needs to be more open. There was Mental Health Awareness Day, I think in October, so it's only a couple of weeks ago, isn't it? So all the staff at the school all wore green or yellow, because children's mental health, I think, colour is yellow. So that shows it. A colleague of mine was championing it at the school, and lots of posters, PSHE lessons. That it's okay to talk, and it's okay to open up, and it's okay to get upset, and, you know, let go of those emotions rather than fighting or going out and doing silly things.
Yeah.
If you've not got the tools or the people around you or the things around you to keep you on a straight and narrow, so to speak, and not fall off that line, then you're going to fall off.
Yeah.
It's the way it works. But I think it applies that the one thing I've learned is that you have your own standards, you have your own rules. They don't apply to everyone. You can have open communication with people about problems, and you can advise as best you can, but that advice is never going to match people. I mean, it's vice versa as well when people talk to you. You know, you take what you can from it. Hopefully it gets you a couple of steps in front rather than a couple of steps back.
I mean, back in my day, you know, it was youth clubs, and, you know, you kind of, that's where you learned to mix, get ideas, stuff like that. So, yeah, it's changed. A lot's changed now, and yeah, where is that info and because I expect even like I worry for the young kids at the minute, because what we've locked down, and, you know, and all these games that have come in, and they sort of become a bit zombified and unsocial, and, you know, haven't, you know, created a skill of communication, regardless of whether it's on a deeper, you know, more caring level.
Well, I think men together, men talking together, men grouping together over a common goal is really useful. I mean, we're better, you know, working together than in isolation. I think everyone who has dark thoughts, who has any ray of light that can sort of push those dark thoughts to one side, I think groups that, even just walking groups, you know, walk on a Sunday together across the seafront, sea fishing, you know, engaging with some of the outdoor activities are available. Even some of the indoor activities are available. You know, there's games clubs, there's reading groups. We want to start a film club, don't we?
Absolutely.
Men's film club.
Yes.
You know, essentially a lot of themes that you can engage with, that you don't necessarily have to talk to other people. You're not talking about potentially your feelings either, but just being in a group that you know you have commonality.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the starting point of just socialising, creating community again. Because again, there's a lot of time when blokes get to a certain age, they're filtering from one friends group to another, whether it's through school, university, work,
kids' parents. You know, you're sort of, and then once you move beyond that, you kind of have a bit of an empty vacuum of what do we do next? Who do we engage with? Who are your true friends? And I think just finding those avenues again, you know, that are out of your norm, that are available in your local community.
Yeah. No, brilliant. Right, Maz, well, thank you very much for your time, man. That's been really interesting having a chat with you today.
Great talk, Travis.
If I can sum everything today up in one word, it would be humbling. It has been very humbling to be a part of this experience. I mean, coming into this, I was excited. I was looking forward to the opportunity to be able to share in the experiences of other people. But you know, to see how ready and willing men are to engage in conversation, to sort of share their stories, and also in talking to them afterwards and having conversations like, you know, having conversations with Charlie about how he felt about it and how it resonated with him. And it's just highlighted even more, and it's made me even hungrier and even more passionate for the message that we've got to that we're trying to promote here, that the conversation is the most important thing, that in sharing these experiences, in being open and honest with these things, and in understanding that we are essentially all going through the same things at different times. Men tend to try and shy away from things like mental health, mental well-being. As soon as you talk to a man about mental health, they shut down instantly, it's gone. And the reason why it's attached to so many things, it's almost sort of trying to condition the man to understand that it's okay to talk about mental health. If you talk about something enough times, it just becomes, you become conditioned to normalise it. And I think that essentially is what we're trying to do here as well. We're trying to normalise the conversation about men's mental health. Don't dance around it, don't be shy about it, talk about it, engage with yourself, engage with your friends, engage with us, engage with me.